Hey guys, what's up? This is Alex, and we're closing day number 9 here in the simulator with a substantial green day. It looks good on the surface. I took 6 trades and finished up 5.5% with a win of $106.58. However, I do believe there's a chance that this may have been my sloppiest day in this account so far. And it contained quite a few failures of discipline. Throughout the entire morning, I was struggling back and forth with disciplinary issues. Yesterday was a no trades day for me as a result of failing my pre-market discipline checklist. And so I think most of this recap is going to be spent talking about what happened outside the trades. I will review the trades I took right away, but I really have a lot to say about what went on behind the scenes today. Now, I know if I bring up the charts, I'm going to end up getting sucked into over-explaining my trades, so I'm going to try doing this by just showing them on the trade log right here, which I have open. So my first one was a scalp. I woke up very early, or at least I got involved with the trade very early, and I also had a pretty late night last night. I went to bed around 2 a.m. and woke up at 7:10. And then you can see my first trade was opened at 7:24, which means that I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I certainly didn't complete the majority of my pre-market checklist. However, I found myself maxing out my buying power on a trade on SES almost right away. And initially, I had intended this to be either a scalp or loading up for a longer term hold. And the scalp target that I had in mind was 275. And I averaged into a position with an average just below 260 with 3 entries, playing it really safe. I think my max risk on this was something like $22, and my target was 90. My first target, if I had chopped it out at 75, that would have been a $90 winner. So I had a great risk reward. However, I did the resistance that I had expected to show up did show up, and I bailed half my position. I think it was at 276, and instead of taking the rest off the table at 275 when I had a great opportunity to do so, I ended up holding the rest and eventually stopped out at 268, which was the next support level on the bid side. And that did reduce my P&L a little bit, but more importantly, it was the first sign of a lack of discipline. Now, my second trade on SES was a reflection of me not being sure about what I was seeing. I was really confused by the price action on the tape. There were quite a few orders going in above the ask or below the bid. There were swings in the price that I couldn't make sense of. I've seen it every now and then it happens, but in this case it was happening really in a condensed window of time, and I wasn't sure what to make of that, and I suddenly felt uncomfortable in this trade. I had intended originally to load up again for the break of $3, starting with a position of 250, but because I wasn't sure of the situation and I wasn't comfortable, I decided to bail out. And you can see I only captured 3 cents on this trade, and after commissions, it was only a $3 winner or something. This second trade on SES was really a pivotal moment in the day because I had closed this trade to begin with because I felt uncomfortable. I was seeing things on the level 2 and on the tape that I wasn't familiar with. I did not feel comfortable with the situation, and even though it may have been a stronger setup on a long time frame, I just wasn't feeling very comfortable. And because that I hadn't completed my pre-market checklist, I told myself, okay, we're going to get out of this trade and I'm going to go complete all that stuff. I'm going to shower, shave, make breakfast, do all that stuff that I need to do, and I'll wait for the bell. I told myself specifically I'm going to wait for the bell. And I locked my level 2 at that time as a reminder to myself that, okay, we're locked out until the discipline checklist is complete. Now, this third trade on SES pre-market, I opened, as you can see by the times here, less than 10 minutes later after I closed my previous trade. And I had to unlock that level 2 in order to take this trade. And as you can see by my share size and my number of entries, I added into this trade. I think my first entry was at 302, and then I added at 312. And almost as soon as I added at 312, I got hit by a bit of a pullback that scared me. I had been risking the whole time off the $3 level with a hard stop at 296, and I was expecting a fairly clean resolution on this, and I didn't get it. And I just felt like the way I had managed the trade, I felt like I was about to give back my profits, the nice little cushion that I built for myself, which was about $65. I wanted to bring that cushion into the open. And here I was breaking my own rules, and it's a very important rule that when I lock my level 2, it's always for a reason. And even though I can just click the button again and be unlocked in an instant, it's not about that. It's about I set a rule for myself and I failed it. And that's a really dangerous behavior. And in this was a case where I broke my own rule, and it's a really important one, like I said. And I got into a spot where I could have given back all my profits from the previous two trades. And it wasn't really that great of a setup. My entry wasn't very good. I added at the wrong time. And once again, I didn't feel comfortable. And so what ended up happening was after the dip back down to $3, it popped up to 15 and formed a bit of a flat top where it looked like there was going to be resistance there. And once it broke through, I thought, okay, good, now we can start running. It didn't keep on running at the speed that I had expected it to. Once again, I was confused by what I was seeing on the level 2 and on the tape. And so when a bidder came up at 315, I said, okay, I'm putting my new stop firmly at 315. I'm not going lower. 316 it was. And as soon as that seller or that bidder broke, rather, I bailed out for the whole thing and just sold it. I just kind of punished myself and didn't let myself go any further. I was really upset at that time with the fact that I had broken this discipline rule because I have a lot of disciplinary failures, but one area where I really succeed is punishing myself. And in this case, I did not punish myself. I didn't listen to the rules that I had implemented intraday. I had got involved in two pre-market trades, which are the first two pre-market trades of this account. I haven't traded pre-market in several months, and it's an area where I'm really rusty. I haven't even taken practice trades pre-market. So I just there were so many things happening all at once that I just felt like, okay, this might be the end of the day for me. I might ban myself for the rest of the day. And I didn't do that, as it turns out, and we'll see in a minute that this almost ended up costing me the whole day. So after I'd closed that third trade on pre-market, rather, I found myself with a profit cushion of about $90 on the day, which is a pretty strong result given, the days I've been having, the sloppiness, the lack of discipline, the no trades days, all these things put together. And you can see I finally did, act on my discipline situation right here after I closed my third trade. There's an hour between these times, and I did get a lot of things done. I cleaned up, I did the dishes, which was one of my checklist items. I showered, shaved, ate breakfast, went outside, had coffee, went for a walk, did all these things to try and recenter myself. But at the same time, when I came back, I thought, okay, well, I still don't like the price action on this. I did see that by the time I got out of the shower, I did see that I had missed the bulk of the real move on SES, and found that I basically gave up a spot to carry 600 shares up about 70 cents. I mean, it could have been a $600 day for me, and it wasn't, as a result of just not being ready on time and a variety of other factors. And so knowing this and being aware of this, I went into the open thinking, okay, I really want to see like a quality setup, and I want to see, I pretty much want to see a high of day break, or a break of the pre-market high rather, at I believe it was 368 at the time. I really wasn't confident in the way that the level 2 was looking. I wasn't confident in the speed of the trading. I'm not super comfortable with these ultra fast movers, and so I really wanted to see some chart develop. And here we go again with a discipline failure. 17 seconds into the day, I got involved on a trade, and you can see that my confidence level was pretty low, given that I took 125 shares instead of the 250 that I'd started with on previous trades. And on the one hand, that 125 entry, that was partly due to just not wanting to overexpose myself in the first minute of the day. So there was a little bit of discipline involved in that, but I also feel like it demonstrates me being scared. If I'm not confident enough to be able to take larger size, at least 250 shares, then I think I might as well just sit the trade out. And what this was a rip through the high of day. I mean, it was 17 seconds into the day, but it was an anticipatory entry of what I thought was going to be the break of pre-market high, and I got filled higher than I wanted to. And you can see I stopped out only a minute later, at 323 and promptly gave back $36 for no particular reason. I was never in a good position in this trade. I think I bought not far off of a top tick on the candle, on my entry candle. Now, I am going to show the entries and exits on my fourth trade because this is the most dangerous one. This is the one that makes me say that this might have been the sloppiest day in this account so far. Now, my first entry was way up here on the first 1 minute candle to make a new high following this super choppy open. I mean, these swings, 350 to 317, 349 to 321, etc. This was whipping back and forth almost from one moment to the next. It wasn't a slow grind up and a slow grind down. It was just flashing up and flashing down. And I do not have the skills to be able to read the tape that fast. I don't have the skill. I don't have the market depth to be able to, see that deep into the future to be able to try and make a read on what's going on the level 2. And so all these factors are against me, and I just should have waited to wait for this pattern to break. These are 5 consecutive red doji candles, and I got involved on the fourth one rather. And you can see my first entry here, once again with 125 shares, was at 342, which is almost a top tick for my entry. And immediately I got punished. I was risking off the $3 level. I was willing to take a lot of risk because of my small entry. And I almost got stopped out of this again. And instead, something even worse almost happened when you can see we pulled back down here to 307 and then curled back up on super high volume. I mean, this is a 600,000 share volume bar on the 1 minute chart, and this stock has less than 1 million shares of a float. So we almost rotated the float in what was really like about 25 seconds, maybe even less. I mean, this pop and drop happened very suddenly. I think once it broke the 325 level of the previous candle right here, I think it honestly hit the 360 level maybe 3.5 seconds later or something like that, and then came all the way back down right away. However, in between all that happening, I added. You can see I added right here at not far from the end of that candle. And even this is a great example. My entry time here is 9:35:41, so I'm in the third of this candle, and I got filled at 3:58. Which is 2 pennies off the top, and less than 19 seconds later it closed at 336. So I mean, this is huge volume, and it went all the way up and all the way back down, and this add-on brought my average to 350, and immediately I got punished once again. And this was just a war. It was a tug of war that went really sour really fast, and it almost cost me. If I had stopped out at $3, I would have turned this day from a $90 winner on 100% accuracy pre-market, even though it was sloppy trading and this, I wasn't super proud of it. I could have gotten away with a cleaner day. I could have waited. I could have let the trade come to me, and I didn't. I tried to force the trade, and that almost really burned me because I was not going to go further than $3. I wasn't 100% sure that the factors on this stock would resolve the way that I wanted them to, even though it had a lot of things going for it. I wasn't super convinced. The choppiness in the open really made me nervous, and instead of waiting further and just holding 125 shares and maybe waiting for substantial confirmation, and even though you could argue, yeah, this is volume confirmation, and it was too fast, and I'm not comfortable in those situations. So why not wait until we actually break the pre-market high of 368? And so that's a little bit of an angle that I felt like this trade was horrible. I should never have taken this add-on at the 358. And if I did, I think it should have been just a half add-on, which would have been 62 shares or something. And that would have reduced my exposure in terms of dollars. Instead, I set myself up to do some serious damage to my day and to my account. And that's not a winning play in the long run. No matter how good the setup is, if you're not comfortable in it, I feel that it's not a good trade to take. And I did it anyway. And the saving grace in this situation was that the recovery was really clean. After the drop back down on this candle here at 936, there was a base at 303. There was a lot of bid refreshing happening in between 3 and 310, and you can see the market reacted to that. These bottoming tail candles, they show, well, they're all bottoming tail candles here, really. And that really does exemplify what was going on in the tape in the level 2, in that whenever a wash would take place, whenever the bottom would fall out on the stock, bids would just come in and pick it, prop it right back up. And so I started thinking, okay, well, let's look at this and let's reevaluate the situation. And, once we tested, rejected, and retested the VWAP and made this doji right here at 943, I thought, okay, now all of a sudden I'm really liking the possibility of having an explosion up into the 360 area, and we might actually get like a really big winner out of this. And it started to get a little stronger. Once breaking above the VWAP, tested it again and started breaking through on stronger volume and making better candles as well. They were less candles of indecision. They were more forming towards long bodies. And here it is on the next candle after this one. Once we broke this little, well, not little, it was a substantial seller at 335 that got broken, and pretty much out of nowhere. Honestly, I thought it was setting up pretty well for like an explosive long move, possibly a short squeeze. But I wasn't expecting this, and so I got out pretty fast on this. I must say my finger was ready on the trigger the whole time, and I got a really good fill. The high was 390, and I managed to escape at 383 on my first half. Looking back, I wish I ditched it all. But on the other hand, I took, more than, exactly 50 cents of risk, not counting potential slippage on this trade. And so, my profit loss on this trade ended up being horrible as a result. And so once I took off half at 383, just the absolute intensity of the move, which was ridiculous. I mean, look at this, 850,000 shares, and probably 500,000 happened in less than 10 seconds. I mean, this squeeze was incredibly violent, and even though it was really good for me, I still wasn't all that comfortable with it. I was looking at the level 2, trying to find support, trying to find resistance, and the information was just too fast. And that's why I say that maybe I should have just taken it all off at 383. I didn't have orders hanging out, which was another mistake that I made. I didn't have sell orders up at 60, 70 stacked up to going up. I was expecting a much slower rise than this. I thought it would maybe pop to 50, stall, pop to 70, stall, etc., and then possibly squeeze into a circuit breaker or something. And the circuit breaker factor was the only reason that I held this second half, which I ended up bailing on at 66 when it started coming back down. 48. Yeah, I bailed on a green candle. It gives you an idea of where my mind was at. We came back to 50s, and once again, it was really choppy. You can just see by the patterns in these candles and the volume that there was a lot going on, and that's not where my strength is. I can handle these setups no problem when it's going maybe half as slow, but I just wasn't in the zone. I was mad at myself on the day. I had shown a lack of discipline all throughout the last 2.5 days probably, and this day was no exception. I almost blew up my entire profit that I made pre-market, and I was upset with myself about that, and so I just decided to just sell the other half at 366 when it became clear that we weren't going to squeeze up into a circuit breaker halt, which at that time was, I think, around 430 something. Once it became clear we weren't going to do that, I decided, let's just take a step back and wait, because I don't trust this move. I don't think it's going to go higher. And if it does, so be it. But I've already made so many mistakes on this day that I really need to just let myself get away with this one. It was really a time where I had to take a step back, and I actually left my desk. I went outside, had a smoke, took some probably about 10 minutes to relax and just chill out and evaluate what I had just done, because a lot of things happened quickly that I wasn't comfortable with. So after taking that break outside and calming my nerves a little bit, I came back and found a chart that I really looked at, and I was just thought to myself, what do I really like about this chart? And I couldn't really see anything. I mean, looking at it now up top on the 1 minute here, this is what I refer to as a hairy chart, which I don't like. And what I mean by that is it's one dominated by wicks. Whether they're at the top or they're at the bottom, this is a chart of severe indecision. It's one that swings wildly. I feel like this stock was way too crowded at this point, and it was already like the highest ever volume by this point in the day. I think there were like 7 million shares by this point, and we hadn't made a substantial move, and I thought that that was a bit of a danger sign. This pop back here at 9:35 got sold off. The one that I sold into at 9:46, that one eventually sold off pretty harshly right here, and there just wasn't a lot to be confident about. The only thing that I really liked, and the thing that made me take another trade, my sixth, was the fact that we had, well, two things. We had based at 312 and started to consolidate in a way that I thought looked really bullish. I thought that this was super similar to what happened back here leading up to this big spike. And I thought, okay, well, if we can get the volume in and we can continue rising and avoid any drops, if the bids can hold, then this could be a spot where we spike right back up into the 70s, 80s, and possibly squeeze into a halt, which at this time, after this drop, the halt level was like 392 or something like that. So it just barely past high of day would have been a halt. And if that had happened, I do believe there would have been a lot of panic covering in the shorts, and a lot of things could have gone very right. So what I did, once again, is take a very small entry of 125 shares on, I guess it was this candle here. I had thought that the seller at 328 was about to break. My risk level was down here at this yellow line at 312, so I was risking a very small amount. At this point in the day, I was up exactly $108 on the day, my net P&L, and I was comfortable with that. I wasn't really interested in giving back more than $25. Basically, I was going to cut myself off and force myself to have a small winner, and not get myself into any kind of serious trouble. So my add-ons that I had planned for this were going to be half positions only, and they were going to happen very far apart from each other. I wasn't going to as soon as 28 breaks, I wasn't going to double the position or anything like that. It was going to be like beyond 350, I might add, beyond high of day, I might add, etc. It was going to be a small position no matter what. And if I fast forward here, you'll see there was a lot more consolidation. Volume had severely tapered off here, and I started not liking the situation pretty soon after. We moved up to 33. And right after we broke 33, there was a bid that came in at 30. And the bid was pretty heavy. I believe it was about 25,000 shares, which, given the thickness of the level 2, was pretty significant. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to hold as long as this 30 level doesn't break. If we continue grinding up, I'm okay with the grind, but I'm not going to, let myself go back red on this. I'm not going to let myself go back to 312. I'm basically just not going to have a red trade on this, and if I do, it's going to be a couple of dollars. And that's what ended up happening. I stopped out, I guess, on right at the end of this candle. It broke that seller at 30, or that buyer rather at 30, and I just said, nope, that's it, that's the day. And I lost, I guess, $1.42 on that trade. It was a gross winner, but after commissions of $3.90, it put me in the red. And that's when I said, okay, this is by far enough mistakes for one day. And the other thing, too, is that it didn't look to me as if this was going to be the big winner that we thought it was going to be. Pre-market, everybody was really excited. In the chat room, everybody was pumped up. And nobody was thinking short, really. There was one guy who mentioned he was short on it. Everybody else was focusing long, and I feel like that's how the whole trading community was feeling at that point. And yet we produced this hairy chart, as I call it. There was a lot of indecision early on in this day, and I wasn't feeling the situation. I thought, if this setup with so many good factors leaning towards SES, if this is all we can produce, then I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait and see what happens and wait for Monday. If it does end up ripping, then there's going to be some sympathy somewhere, and I'll capitalize on that sympathy when I'm in a better place personally. So on the surface, I mean, if I look at this objectively in retrospect, I think really my problem was not playing well pre-market. I think that's where all the trouble started, and as a result, I was a little too quick to. I overtraded, first of all. That's the biggest gripe I'd have to say about myself for this day. I overtraded and I cost myself too many commissions. I made myself or do things that I didn't approve of, and as a result, I ended the day pretty early. My last exit was just before 10:14 a.m., and even though I stuck around until about 11, there was this death candle here, or so we thought it was a death candle at 11:05, where a million shares led to a sell-off on the 5 minute, dropping from 358 to 305 pretty quickly. And it ended up being flat for quite a while below the VWAP. Now, what I never did see until I logged in around I think 4:20 or 4:15, something like that. If I fast forward the 5 minute chart, you'll see what I saw. I think this is about what I saw. All my lines, I deleted them now, but all my resistance and support lines. I mean, this is the huge squeeze that led where I sold at the 383. This is the huge squeeze, and look how small it looks by comparison now. So, this thing broke out around, I guess, 130, made a really great flag here, and broke out beautifully, resolved all the way up to 480, consolidated for a couple of hours, and then towards power hour and aftermarket, I mean, it just went parabolic aftermarket. It closed for the day at 5:43, and 15 minutes after the bell, it was tapping 927, which is just astounding. I mean, this is great. I'm super ecstatic about that part. I don't mind missing it. Like I said in previous recaps, if I miss the first one, that's not a big deal to me. And to be honest, I'm stoked to be able to get out of this day with a three-figure winner, because I made so many mistakes today, and this could have ended very badly for me, and it didn't. And so now what's probably going to happen, now that, all this excitement took place late in the day, this is going to give everybody the confidence. Like I spoke about before, is we just need that one that goes parabolic. And look, this is a never before seen day in SES's history. If I blow up the daily chart and zoom out a little bit, you'll see it has a recent history of giving back its gains. It popped 630 to 1360 here on only 3 million shares, gave it all back. Here there's another one, here there's another one, etc. I mean, we could zoom back further and see, one going pretty high up here and then pulling back. I mean, there's a lot of pop and drops in this history, and right now it looks like we're going to close on a long body, which means great things. I mean, look at the shape of this candle. It certainly came out of nowhere, and I didn't catch any piece at the end of the day. But I'm really happy to see this. This is exactly the trigger that we've all been waiting for. And I mean, look, even intraday, even with all the weird things that happen, it's still up 134%. And from the previous close, it's over 300. I can't remember the last time I've even heard about something like this happening. I'm pretty sure it's been several months. And so this is awesome. This is exactly what we needed. And even though I'm going to be, reining in my own trading, I'm certainly excited about the fact that this ran as crazily as it did. So I'm going to close this video out by giving a brief look at my trade stats here. This is my log open for the entire account. I'll switch over to the October tab. If you need to pause and look at the stats, you're welcome to do so. And I'm just going to talk real quickly about a difference that I didn't like, something that made me or contributed a lot to the fact that I took yesterday off with a no trades day, was my position size, the pattern that's developing there. If we look back at September, you can see my average position value was $2,400, which means I was marginalized on average. And flip back to October, and we can see that I'm almost at half that. And if we scroll over to the other side where all my values are listed, I mean, my two OCGN trades that really started making me look at it, those were like, $410 and $400 positions. What the hell is that? To me, that's a sign that I should just not be trading. And today was a lot of the same thing. The first one I actually really do like. But the rest of them, I mean, yes, on the one hand, this was a non-marginable stock. And even in DAS Trader, DAS didn't let me marginalize it either. My position, the first one right here, This trade was a case of me trying to take 750 shares, my third add-on, which is visible right here. That add-on was supposed to be 250, and I couldn't take it because it just barely exceeded my equity. It would have been 1950 about to take 1700 or 750 shares, and I only have 1922. So a bit of a bummer that I couldn't get heavier on that. I would have definitely liked to. But there are, at the same time, some positive things to take out of here. As you know, probably already, I'm somebody who always focuses on the negative. Positive things don't need to be fixed. It's all about plugging the holes and stuff like that. And positivity will emerge from plugging holes. And on the other hand, I am kind of satisfied right now. I'm happy that I'm up tomorrow, or Monday rather. I'm going to open green in this account again, despite having paid fees from last year or from last month, and despite only having a half month last month to really get active, well, even a quarter month to be honest. And all the slowness, all the stuff that went wrong so far this month, and I'm still green, and that to me is a good sign. When the market heats up, I suspect I'll be able to make real good moves on this account, and I'm looking forward to all that. So until then, take it easy, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. At the popularity of this channel so far, I believe I'll be able to answer everything. So give it a shot. If you're new and you have questions about these recaps, fire away. I'm here to help.